no gold is not enough.
Hello, good day. Welcome again to my educational vlog. This is Christopher Padlan, a teacher of Mabalbalino National High School. And today we will be studying a literature entitled Daedalus and Icarus by Nick Pontikis. So for today, we will not be dealing with the second most essential learning competency for grade 10, but we will be having a reading activity that is actually important. The literature that we will be reading for today's educational video will be used for the most essential learning competency for grade 10 week number 2. So I hope that you will still join me, and later on I will be discussing on how we will be doing the reading activity. But let me just thank all the 14 subscribers who have been supporting me to this educational educational video channel. Thank you very much. This means so much. So let us proceed to our reading activity. So again, the title of this educational video is The Story of Daedalus and Icarus by Nick Pontikis. Okay, so even though we don't have our most essential learning competency for this educational video, still we have these objectives. Okay, so we have the KUD objectives. Number 1, to recognize the adventures and mistakes of heroes or characters of the selected Greek myth. The second one is to draw interpretation from the text through process questions. And the third one is to produce correct sound of English through practice reading. So these are our KUD objectives. So hopefully we would be able to accomplish all of this. The next one. So today's reading activity will only be using process question or process questions. And I know that you're used to reading text with visuals or with pictures or motion pictures or movies, or reading text that has a fancy design or designs, or text with emojis. But you know, I think that it's a good way to start this academic year, trying to appreciate reading in its simple form, and that is just to read the text and to let our imagination take over the reading process. And you know, probably it is difficult to understand why, sir, it is actually better, it is far more efficient for us to actually understand a text with images, pictures, or movies. But you know, there is really magic, or there is really a fulfillment, and at the same time a creative aspect that happens when you try to read a text and try to imagine it. So you know, we will just be doing that. And of course, to really guide us in this reading process, we have this reading strategy that the only reading strategy that we will be using, which is using the guidepost question or guidepost questions or the process questions. Okay, and let's just do it. And do not worry, because I will link a video in the description on the movies or the video that you can actually watch after reading this story of Daedalus and Icarus. So let me just discuss on how we will actually do this reading activity. So there are 2 colors for the text. The black one will mean that I'll be reading that part of the text, while the blue text are the part of which you will be reading. So do not worry, I will also read with you by through mine, and I hope that you will honestly dare to really read the text that we will be reading. Okay, so let us practice reading, and at the same time, we should not forget to focus in trying also to understand the text, because there are process question to be answered. Okay, and I'll be giving you 5 to 10 seconds to reflect and discern from these questions, and for each question 5 to 10 seconds, and then we will proceed in reading the next part of the text. Okay, so your answers for each of the process questions, you can actually comment it down in our comment section, so that we can have a discussion after the reading activity. So are we good? So if we are good, so let us proceed reading the story. Daedalus and Icarus by Nick Pontikis. Daedalus, his name means skilled worker, was a famous architect, inventor, and master craftsman known for having created many objects that figure prominently in various myths. He had a beloved son named Icarus. And now for our first process question. What is your favorite invention of Daedalus? So now let's proceed to the next part of the text. The infamous labyrinth was so cunningly crafted that Daedalus himself could barely find his way out after constructing it. With countless winding passages and turns that opened into one another, the labyrinth appeared to have neither beginning nor end. Daedalus built the maze to imprison the Minotaur, half man, half bull beast. Okay, so we proceed to the second process question. Do you think the labyrinth invented by Daedalus is dangerous? Would you agree that it is dangerous or not? So now let's proceed to the next part of the text. For a short time, his apprentice was his sister's son, Pontikis. But Daedalus was so proud of his achievements that he could not bear the idea of a rival. His sister had placed her son Pontikis under his charge to be taught the mechanical arts. And for this process question, if you are Daedalus, how will you describe Pontikis? Pontikis also put two pieces of iron together, connecting them at one end with a rivet and sharpening the other ends, and made a pair of compasses. for this process question, do you think intentions of Daedalus to kill Perdix is a right thing to do? Let's proceed to the next part of the text. Other sources claim instead that his apprentice was his nephew Daedalus. They say that it was Daedalus at the age of 12 who displayed a skill that nearly rivaled his mentors. Daedalus, fearing that the boy would surpass him in talent, murdered the boy by tossing him from the Acropolis of Athens. And now, for the process question for that part of the text, why do you think there are other versions of this myth that includes Daedalus as the nephew who had been tossed instead of Perdix? What is your top of mind opinion with regards to this question? Let's proceed to the next part. It is said that Daedalus was the first to conceive masts and sails for ships for the navy of Minos, helping Crete become a naval power. The statues he carved were so exquisite, they look as if they were alive. It is said that they would have escaped were it not for the chain that bound them to the palace wall. And now for the process question. Among the inventions, which do you feel is irreplaceable? A. Masts and sails. B. Statues. Or C. The wooden cow. Next. When the dreadful Minotaur was born, Daedalus built the labyrinth to contain the monstrous half-man, half-bull. For years, Minos demanded a tribute of youths from Athens to feed the creature as punishment for the accidental killing of his son while he was visiting Athens. And for our process question, what did Daedalus design to hold the Minotaur? Let's proceed. Daedalus gave her flaxen thread for Theseus to tie to the door of the labyrinth as he entered, and by which he could find his way out after killing the monster. Theseus succeeded and escaped Crete with Ariadne. And for the process question, how did Daedalus help Theseus to escape the labyrinth? Let's proceed. Daedalus managed to get out of the labyrinth. After all, he had built it and knew his way around. Daedalus decided that he and his son, Icarus, had to leave Crete and get away from Minos before he brought them harm. And for the process question, what made the escape from Crete difficult for Daedalus and Icarus? Let's proceed. Since Minos controlled the land and sea routes, and there was no route of escape there, Daedalus realized that the only way out was by air, but only the gods could fly. And for the process question, number 10. What is the innovative plan thought by Daedalus to effectively escape Crete? Next. Before taking off from the island, Daedalus warned his son to follow closely behind him. He sternly cautioned Icarus not to fly too close to the sun, as it would melt his wings, and not too close to the sea, as it would dampen them and make it hard to fly. Let's proceed to the process question. What is the most challenging reminder or advice of Daedalus to Icarus? In your opinion, what is the most challenging? Forgetting his father's stern advice, Icarus flew too close to the sun god Helios, who was pulling the sun behind his chariot high in the sky. Let's proceed to the process question. In your opinion, whose fault is the death of Icarus? His father cried bitterly, lamenting his own arts, and called the land near the place where Icarus fell into the ocean Icaria, in memory of his child. The Icarian Sea, where he fell, was forever named after him, and it is said that the great hero Heracles, who was passing by, gave him a proper burial. Let's proceed to the process question. Why do you think Daedalus offered his wax wings to Apollo? But vengeful King Minos wasn't quite done. He then went in pursuit of Daedalus, hoping to locate and trick the great inventor into revealing himself. At each city he visited, Minos offered a reward to whoever could thread a spiral seashell, a seemingly impossible task. Eventually, Minos came to Camicus in Sicily and presented the contest at Cocalus' court. And now for the process question. What is the plan of King Minos to locate Daedalus? When Minos saw that someone had solved the puzzle, he demanded that Cocalus surrender Daedalus, for he insisted that only he would have been invented enough to solve the task. King Cocalus promised to do so, but he persuaded Minos to first take a bath and stay for some entertainment. Minos agreed and was consequently murdered by Cocalus daughters, who had been totally impressed by the toys and gifts which Daedalus had bestowed upon them. And for the process question, is leaving the place Kamicus a good decision for Daedalus? And that ends our reading activity. It's a simple reading activity. We just took our turns and answered different process questions. So again, I hope that before you leave this educational video, I hope that you answered all the process questions and comment all your answers in our comment box. And for the next educational video, this story of Daedalus and Icarus will be used to appreciate the different textual aids. So that's for our second most essential learning competency for this school year. So I hope that you will join me to our continuation of this story, and all the processes will be done into that educational video. So with that, if you did like our reading activity today, please hit like, subscribe, and of course don't forget to comment any kind of reaction or questions or any interesting lesson or topics that you want me to actually have in this educational vlog. So again, see you again in our next educational video. Bye!
And